The topics that we are going to discuss today are digital marketplaces, uh, getting started with your store, creating a listing, and shipping. So, what is a digital marketplace? The simplest answer is a digital marketplace or online marketplace is an app or e-commerce site that provides a space for businesses and individuals to sell products or services for a fee. Transactions are facilitated through the marketplace, but the marketplace does not typically own the products or services provided. I say typically because there are a few exceptions, such as Amazon or Walmart. Sellers are responsible for maintaining their inventory, creating their own product pictures, writing product descriptions, and setting prices and logistics. So, why a digital marketplace and not a standalone website? There's certainly nothing wrong with having your own website and shop, and in fact, there are people that recommend having both simultaneously. There are a few benefits that can be taken advantage of, whether you're just starting out or you've been selling online for a while. An online marketplace may offer higher traffic than a standalone website, especially if your brand is not as established yet. The larger marketplaces especially spend a lot of money on marketing and advertising. You've probably seen one or two ads from places like Etsy, eBay, or Amazon, especially during the holidays. They are a good stepping stone for individuals and small businesses that are just starting out and can help increase brand awareness. As your brand awareness grows and more people start navigating to places like your social media and website, people will then begin to transition into running their own store on a website they host. A lot of these marketplaces have tools that can also help streamline logistics, such as offering label printing and business rates through carriers like USPS, so it can make your shipping a lot smoother and easier for you. There are three different types of digital marketplace that I want to briefly touch on. The first is going to be business to business, or B2B, which is business such as wholesalers selling to other businesses. This would be a site like maybe Alibaba, where you can connect with a manufacturer, have them make a product that you would then sell in your shop. The next one is going to be business to customer, or B2C, which is where businesses are targeting the customers directly. Think of sites like hotels.com or booking.com, where they're targeting a service directly to the consumer. And then the last one is going to be peer-to-peer, or P2P, also known as customer to customer, or C2C. That's going to be places like Etsy, StoreEnvy, Redbubble, Fiverr, eBay, Amazon, where independent vendors are setting up their stores and selling their products to others. Most of us are going to fall into this category, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So, you are ready to set up a store on a digital marketplace. What do you need to get started? Well, naturally, you're going to need a product or service to sell, so it's a good idea to have all of that ready to go before you dive in. This can be art, crafts, a very specific line of hot sauces, do what you want, live your dream. You're also going to want something like a tax ID. Not all online marketplaces are going to ask for that information and send you tax forms. But if you plan on selling goods and services to other people, I strongly advise that you have what you need to report that income to the government. If you're planning on selling food, you would also want to look into Texas cottage food laws, because that's going to kind of give you guidance on what you're going to need to, if you're planning on selling, hot sauces or pickles or whatever else, the information that you're going to need to get started there so that you're in compliance. You're also going to want a business email. It's optional, But if you don't already have one, you can set one up pretty easily someplace like Gmail. You'll get a lot of notifications from new orders to inquiries. And personally, I find it easier to manage when it's separated from a personal email address. You're going to want to have a business name. This is your brand and one way that people are going to recognize you and your products. Having a static business name makes it easier for repeat customers to come back or for them to refer other people to your products. Lastly, you'll need a bank account. Many companies prefer to direct deposit financial earnings directly into your account through the account number or debit card. Now, whether you want to create a separate business bank account or, if it's more of a smaller venture and you're just using your own personal one, that's kind of up to you, but you'll just want to have that information ready. Creating an account can vary a little from site to site, but there are some constants that you will find regardless of the site you decide to pick. If the site has a join with Facebook or Google or any other form of social media, I recommend that you do not click that button. It can be tempting because it's less typing, but it is more professional to have those two sides of life separate, especially if someone else is going to have access to this account to kind of help you out with running your business. They will always ask for an email address, so if you've followed the list from the previous slide, you're already prepared for that. They will always ask for a password. Make sure it's something strong and not easy to guess that falls within their parameters. I strongly advise that you use a separate password from your personal passwords. Again, if someone else is helping with the business, but also if someone gains access to a personal account, it is another safeguard from them getting access to your business accounts where you may have sensitive information on yourself or your customers. Some of these sites will ask for a username, so I recommend that you make that username your business name. In some instances, the username is also your shop name. The questions that these sites ask are step-by-step, so if you just follow along with the instructions, in a matter of a few minutes, you'll have a new account ready to go. The next thing I recommend before you immediately jump into posting your first listing is to fully set up your account. So what does that mean? Setting your business image or logo. Make sure the image is consistent with your brand and easily recognizable. I recommend using the same image you use on any social media pages or website you may have for your business. So, think of, McDonald's is pretty iconic, the golden arches. You want something like that that's going to appear on all of your stores, social media, and all of that. So people know right away that's you. If you are also using a header image, make sure that it showcases your products or services. Write your description for your store. Keep it short and sweet, something that sums up who you are and what you're offering in a sentence or two. You'll want to set up your financial information. An online marketplace is going to want to know where they are sending your earnings to. They also want to know where to send their invoices. We'll get to fees shortly here. When you create a new account, many of these websites have a to-do list that you can follow along with. And in most cases, they will not let you post the listing until you have completed these action items. So as long as you go ahead and complete that to-do list, that should get you set up so that you can go ahead and get going. So you've got your account filled out, all set up, and you're ready to create a listing. So what do you need? You're going to want to have a product image or images. I say this first because in my opinion, this is the most important. If someone is scrolling through products on a marketplace, this is going to be the first thing that catches their eye and causes them to pause. You're going to want to have a title. I'd say that's going to be the second most important. Just what it is in a few words. You'll need to have a description. The picture and the title have drawn them in, so now they have clicked on the item, they're going to want to know more. You're going to want to have the dimensions, weight, and quantities. If you're selling a product, not only is it important to have this information for shipping purposes, but customers need to know the size of what they are getting so they know if it is right for them. And then lastly, tags and keywords. This is what will help customers find your products out of all the variety of products and sellers on the marketplace. So first, let's touch on the product image. A product image should always be clear, well lit, and clean. This is the first impression of your product, and you do not want to have dark, grainy, or blurry photos. And your surface should always look clean and professional. The product should always be the main focus. It is okay to have a couple stage props to make the image look more appealing, but they should not overshadow or confuse the image so the customer knows exactly what they are getting. So if you're selling, candles, you don't want to have so many flowers and trinkets and baubles all over it to where people can't tell, are you selling flowers? Are you selling candles? What's the product here? It should be something that's easily viewable as a thumbnail. You do not want your product to be so small in your photo that it is unreadable when the marketplace shrinks the photo down as a smaller preview in the listings. And try to have multiple images of your product. Take pictures from different angles. If your product opens or closes, take pictures of the inside and outside. The less guesswork a customer has about what it will look like when they receive it, the more likely they are to commit to your product. They say picture is 1,000 words, so your title should be whittled down to just a few. The perfect title should be brief. Some marketplaces have a character limit, and even those that don't have a hard limit, only so much of it will be visible as the customer is scrolling through listings. So you may have seen it where you're shopping online and they have such a long title that it just gets cut off by, 3 ellipses. You don't want that to happen. You want full title where everyone can see it. You want it to be catchy. You do not have to be the wittiest person in the room, but you want your product to grab someone's attention. Even something as simple as screaming habanero hot sauce is going to be more interesting to a customer than just habanero hot sauce. You also want it to be informative. They still need to know what it is. Don't slap so many descriptors in the title that a customer can't tell what you're selling. If you have screaming hot, so hot it'll slap your mama, habanero jalapeno hot sauce, at a certain point it might start to get confusing. So while you want it to be catchy, you also kind of want it to be quick so that they know what they're jumping into. So now that you've got their attention, product descriptions should tell your customer exactly what they're getting. Use adjectives to make it sound appealing. Be clear on the function of the product. What's its intended purpose? What is your product made of? You don't have to give out the family recipe, but people typically want to know what type of material it is made out of, what are some of the basic scents or ingredients. So it's going to be a big deal if I want to buy hot sauce, whether it has jalapenos or habaneros, but I don't need to know that you have, this much cumin and, this much cilantro or whatever else have you. There are certain things that you can have and don't have, but also if it's food related, those Texas cottage will also going to will give you guidance there as well. And dimensions and weight are needed for both you and your customer. So when you're creating a listing, the marketplace software is going to take that information to help you calculate shipping costs when you make a sale. This is also going to be important for your customer. If they are buying hot sauce, they are going to want to know what size they are getting. If they are buying a witty sign for their living room, they'll want to know how much space it is going to take up on their wall, or if it will even fit. So those dimensions are pretty important. And then lastly, we have our tags or keywords, and those are what are going to cause your item to pop up in a search. If you sell hot sauce, you'll want to tag your products as hot sauce so that you will be included when a customer starts their search. Some marketplaces have a limit on how many you can use per listing. Try to keep them relevant to your product, but also what you would expect a reasonable person to search. Some words they might also include in their search for hot sauce might be mild, extra spicy, jalapeno, or habanero, to name a few. All right, so you're ready to start listing. These are a big part of the online marketplace model, and I wanted to briefly touch on those. An online marketplace is at its core a service, and each handles how users pay for their service a little differently. Some services get paid through a commission-based model. This means that they will automatically take a percentage from each sale that you make. Each site can have a different percentage, so make sure you read their terms before you list. Other services rely on listing fees. A listing fee is an amount that you're billed each time you create a new listing or when a listing is renewed or relisted. As an example, I could charge you 10 cents when you create your listing for hot sauce, and with each order of hot sauce you make, I charge you an additional 10 cents to relist your hot sauce. With listing fees, an account that you are asked to place on file could be charged when they accumulate to a certain threshold, say $10 as an example. Or you may be sent a monthly invoice with a due date. If you do not pay any outstanding fees by that due date, your account could be limited or suspended until that balance is paid. Lastly, I want to talk about shipping. Many e-commerce sites offer shipping labels as a service. The customer has already input their shipping information for you when they make the purchase. The e-commerce site may go a step further by offering to prepare a shipping label for you. It can be convenient for sellers because you do not have to go to a separate website to purchase and input your shipping labels or wait in line with a handful of packages. USPS is a default for a lot of these sites. Some online marketplaces may offer additional carriers as well. They automatically calculate the cost of the shipping based on the weight and dimensions you input earlier when you set up the listing for your product. You can also input an additional cost to be calculated into the shipping. Let's say when it's all said and done, it costs me an additional $1 to package a bottle of hot sauce in a box, bubble wrap, and add package filler so it will be safe for transport. I can include that $1 and the software will calculate that with the shipping carrier's transport cost. Alternatively, if you prefer to charge a flat rate fee for shipping regardless of the order, you can do that as well. They will send tracking information directly to your customer, which is incredibly convenient and time-saving, so that you don't have to take each tracking number, type it in, email it to them. It's all just automatically done for you, which is great. The shipping costs will be charged to your account, but because your customer has already paid you for the shipping cost, if you charge shipping, then it's not typically a concern. It's just going to be a wash for you. So I hope that these tips will kind of help you guys get started so that you can start to create a successful store online. We also have some additional resources that you can use to help you get started. So a couple of our previous classes that we've done, and Melinda's going to share a link for those as well. We have Adobe Photoshop product photography, which was done by one of our instructors, Hannah, and it goes over how to take nice product photos so that you can then post them online for your online shops. We also have a great one that was done by one of our librarians, Jennifer, how to start an online business. And she goes into a little bit more detail on things like getting started with your tax ID, the sites that you go to for that. But I will also say that if you just Google like Texas sales tax ID, that'll get you to the Texas Comptroller's website, and filling out that form is pretty simple too. We also have a couple classes from lynda.com. I included 43 ideas for starting a side business. So if you want to start a side business, but you're not exactly sure what you want to do yet, that's a good place to kind of jump into to maybe get some of those ideas flowing. And then they also have a nice course on starting a business online that also has some good information as well. But there's also a ton of other resources on lynda.com that you can find from anywhere from social media marketing to other sorts of business management. At the library on our website, we also offer our Business Reference Center that has a lot of great resources on how to do all sorts of different aspects with your business and getting set up there. We also have a Book a Librarian. So if you need some more one-on-one help, you can set that time up with a librarian. They can help you get to different resources that you need to help make your business search more successful. So with all of that said, I wanted to leave us some time here so I could answer some questions that any of you guys might have. So I'll kind of turn that over to you guys.
So we have a question, and the question is, how do you find a genuine wholesaler on a website like Alibaba?
So that's a great question. So what I have done in the past is I will typically look for the items that I want to create first. Let's say I want to create enamel pins. I will usually first probably go through the first couple of listings that pop up, and then I'll actually go and do a little bit more research on those businesses, because I know when you're kind of dealing with a whole lot of manufacturers like that, you want to make sure that you're not going to get fleeced or what have you. So I would typically just Google a little bit more, see if other places or other people have also dealt with this company before, and then kind of jump in from there. Do we have any other questions?
So one of the questions is, would you give me the web page to open a marketplace account? And I know you had mentioned earlier in the presentation, like Store Envy, Fiverr, Redbubble, are all of these sites that you can find online easily, or?
Yeah, so let me go back to that slide here. So, of course, probably I would say one of the most well-known or popular right now, some of them, Etsy is going to be a big one. So Etsy.com, Fiverr, I also believe it's just Fiverr, fiverr.com, Fiverr, and then .com. I brought the slide back up as well. And as I understand, we will be sharing this presentation as well, so you guys can have it later on. But let's see, like Redbubble is just redbubble.com. I think all of these are pretty much .coms. StoreNV.com, StoreNvy. All right. Any other questions?
No, that is all.
So yes, we will get, so we will have the presentation, and I believe we can also get those links sent out as well. If you haven't used lynda.com before, if you go to our website, planolibrary.org, and you go to research and learn, the link to lynda.com is there. So if you have a library card with us, you just input your library card information to get access there. But I will make sure that we can get a copy of these links sent out to participants as well.
So we have a question. Will there be a webinar on how to assure your logo ID is not stolen? That's a great suggestion. Feel free to include that in the survey at the end of the presentation. As far as, do you have any tips on that, Anastasia, or recommendations?
So I would say the best way to assure that like your logo or business property isn't stolen is to copyright it or trademark it. Now, trademarking can be a lot more complicated, and that's something that I would definitely recommend you reach out to a professional, a lawyer, to do so, because there's a lot of paperwork involved. Unfortunately, with the internet, if it's just you know, you have an image that's out there, it's hard to say like no one else can save that image. So that's why I would say your best bet would be to, you know, copyright or trademark that, because then you would have some legal recourse to go back and say like, hey, this is my logo. You know, you're not allowed to use this.
So we have another question. Are there any websites that that do not charge a fee or commission for listing the item?
So from what I know, you know, I've dealt with, you know, quite a few websites. Most of them kind of charge something in some regard, because basically that's how they make their money to basically list things. You could use something like, I believe Facebook has a marketplace, and I don't think that Facebook charges for you to list it there, but I know it's definitely a lot different than using something like, you know, Etsy or eBay or one of those. So a lot of those bigger sites like Etsy, they are going to charge you some sort of listing fee. I know personally I've used Etsy, and usually it's like 10 cents to list an item. So in comparison to, you know, the actual cost of the products I was selling, it wasn't really that much off of the amount of profit that I was making. But yeah, basically that's how they make their money to run their sites. Do we have any other questions?
No, not at this time.
Alrighty. Well, like I said, you guys can always reach out to us. There's Book a Librarian and all those resources. So I want to thank everyone for coming to our class today. We really appreciate you guys coming to our programs. And like Malin said, whenever you get the survey at the end of the class, if you have more suggestions, like one of our attendees had a few minutes ago, for any classes that you would like to see in the future, definitely mention that in the survey. We do pay attention to those. Yeah, thank you all for coming. All right, and I am going to go ahead and thank you guys, and we're going to go ahead and stop broadcasting. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day, have a safe weekend.